Motorcycle preparation before the trip. This will be the topic for tonight. Why is preparation before the trip so important? Because guys, as I told you many times, everything you do before the trip will help you during the trip. This is in what I believe, and I'm pretty sure that you already know that I'm absolutely right. Preparation before the trip is crucial to have a trouble-free trip, if I can say it this way. And number one tip that I also gave you many times, but I'm gonna do it again, is to make a proper plan in advance. I know that I talk all the time about plans, but I really believe that the plan is maybe 90% of your trip is just a plan. If you have a good possible plan, or plan that is possible to be made, you will guarantee your success. If the plan is wrong, or if you don't have any plan, you will ensure problems on the road. That's why I believe that a proper plan in advance is something that is absolutely necessary when you're preparing a motorcycle to a long trip. And you have to ask yourself a few questions. Number one, what country or countries you plan to visit? This is logical, right? Because if you know where you're going, you will know what you need. I just gave you an example with Canada right now, that I'm going to Canada, so I need transportation company to bring my motorcycle there, and I need a solution to bring my motorcycle to Mackenzie River. This is part of the plan. Without these plans, I can fly there and start going around Canada like a fly without any purpose until my money finished, and then need to come back. So plan is something very important that will help you even to prepare your motorcycle better. Some of you may say, yeah, now topic is preparing the motorcycle, you're talking about plans, because the plan is necessary even to prepare your motorcycle. I hope that you got the idea, or you with me what I'm talking about. So when you know in what country or countries you plan to travel, you will know what kind of preparation you will need for your motorcycle. How long the trip will be. This is also a very important moment that you have to clear for yourself, to know what kind of preparation you have to do for your motorcycle. Because if the trip is 2,000 kilometers, you don't need to think much. But if the trip is 20,000 kilometers, that is mean that you need at least 2 oil changes, you'll need brake pad changes, you'll need air filter cleaning probably once, and so many things that you can do in advance, or to have spare parts with you to do it again on the road. That's why it's important to know everything in advance, to have a proper plan. You also need to know, do you need visa or carnet de passage? For example, now to Canada, I don't need visa, I don't need carnet de passage. But if you, for example, decided to travel to India or Pakistan or Iran or some other countries, you might need carnet de passage and visa as well. So these are important things that you need to know in advance before you start preparing your motorcycle for all of this. Okay, the visa is for you, it is not related to the motorcycle, but carnet de passage is related to your motorcycle. So it is part of the preparation that you need to do for your future trips. What is the best motorcycle for the trip that you plan? This is another one question that you have to be very honest with. For example, if you plan to have off-road trip in Sahara Desert, for example, for you, Richard, I know that you don't plan to stay to ride off-road in Morocco, but if for any reason you decided that you decided to make a off-road trip in Morocco, you understand that a Honda Goldwing is not going to be the right choice. You'll need something more dual sport orientated, and maybe the best option will be to be a dirt bike, right? So you need to know what will be the motorcycle for the trip that you plan to make. For example, now for Canada, I know that the best option for me will be my TNR 700. So if I have the money to ship it over there, if I have the money to make the trip with my motorcycle, I will. If not, I'll try to find something that will be suitable for my trip. Maybe Kawasaki KLR or something similar that I can buy in Canada and sell it after that. But it is very important right now to clear for yourself what is the best possible motorcycle for the trip that you plan. Then you can start the preparation of that motorcycle. But all of these are important steps that you have to clean in advance. How you gonna travel, alone or with the passenger? Related to you, Richard, because you travel with the passenger. Part of the preparation of the motorcycle is also related with, are you alone or with the passenger? If you are with the passenger, for example, you need a different type of luggage. You need to locate it differently, or maybe a few more changes, maybe a stiffer springs, maybe preload or something like that. It's all part of the preparation of the motorcycle. And the last one is how much it will cost you. You need to know that in advance, because if you don't know how much it will cost you, you might run out of money, not having enough, or something like that. So these are important questions that you ask yourself when you make a proper plan. And when you have honest and clear answers, you can prepare yourself much better and move to the next step, which is the number 2, the actual motorcycle preparation. Maintenance before the trip. Again, everything you do before the trip will help you during the trip. So you really need to do a proper maintenance before the trip. Not just to check your motorcycle oil and antifreeze and go to ride. No, you have to do a proper full maintenance before the trip to make sure that everything is working properly. First, you have to check the overall condition. Will it last the trip? This is a very important question. If you know that your motorcycle or the motorcycle that you plan to travel with, it's not really great condition, and you might have some doubts that it might stop and not let you continue the trip, right? So you have to check first the overall condition. Will it last the trip? If not, make it possible, or change or restore things or rebuild things that need this process, or make overhaul if necessary, but make a proper motorcycle to complete the trip that you have planned. A proper mechanical inspection. So you need to give a motorcycle to someone like my friend Plumber, who will make a proper mechanical inspection of your motorcycle and will show you what are the weak spots, what he can do, what could be done or what cannot be done, and he will give you a final opinion. Can you go with this motorcycle or better not? So this is very important to know. You don't need to fool yourself that I can do it, I have a look, I'll be all right. No. You shouldn't go like this. You can, of course, it's your decision at the end. But my advice is always give a motorcycle to a proper motorcycle mechanic to make a full inspection and to give you his opinion about the overall condition of the motorcycle. This is very important. And after that, change everything that might finish during the trip. A few examples. If your brake pads are in the middle of the life, before you start the trip, my advice is change it. Even though you might have still, let's say, 5 or 10,000 kilometers on them, change them before the trip. You can have them, this 50% brake pads, you can have it as a spare if something goes wrong, but change the brake pads before the trip. The same with your oil. If you change the oil every 5,000 kilometers, but at the moment you have 3,000, my advice is to change it once again and start the trip with a fresh oil, even though you have another 2,000 to finish it. Because the more things you do before the trip, the less things you have to do during the trip. As I already told you, everything you do before the trip will help you during the trip. The same applies to tires. When you decided to buy tires, just first make sure that you need or find out what tires you are going to need for that trip. If the trip is only on the road, only asphalt, you'll need a typical asphalt tires, and they will last you the trip, and you will have a good good traction all the time, and you will have a longevity of these tires. If you include some dirt tracks on the trip, maybe a dual sport tires will be a better option. If you plan a lot of off-road, then you have to go to something more aggressive. But these things need to be checked in advance, and if it's possible, of course, if your budget allows you, always start with fresh tires, and not only the tires, but also the tubes. And this is also very important, because many people change the tires, but they never change the tubes. But after a year or two maximum, the tubes inside, because of the friction, especially if you don't have talc powder between the tube and the tire, they start to wear on specific places, and you might have a problem with these tubes. That's why my advice is always start with the fresh tires and fresh tubes, properly mounted in a motorcycle tire shop with balanced wheels. This is how you start. If somewhere on the road you have a puncture and you need to change your tube, it's a different story. You change it and you continue traveling. But you always start with the fresh tubes, fresh tires, properly balanced wheels, and everything as it should. This is my opinion. And then the brake pads, I already told you, even if they have more kilometers, change them before the trip and start with the fresh brake pads. Then chain and sprockets, always with fresh chain. Even if the chain is in the middle of the life, change it. Because a proper chain will last at least 20,000 kilometers even without any care. With one spraying per day, the chain will last at least 20,000 kilometers. But even so, always start with a fresh chain and sprockets, front and rear. If the trip is extremely long, if you plan something more than 30,000 kilometers, I will advise to take a spare front sprocket with you. And if you change it in the middle of the life of the chain, you will extend the life of the chain with at least another 10,000 kilometers. Next one, fork service, seals, oils, and everything like that. If you know, or maybe you don't know, but once per year you have to check the condition of your front forks and eventually change the oil. So it's like a motorcycle oil. Once per year at least you have to change it. Sometimes sooner if it's necessary. If you have a leaky seals or something like that, you have to change it anyway. But even if the forks are perfectly okay, the dust seals and the oil seals are in perfect conditions, once per year you need to change the fork oil inside. And I will advise to do it before the trip. Go to the mechanic, make inspection of the fork seals, dust seals, oil seals, change the oil inside, check what is the situation with the sturgeons inside, springs, everything, check all the bolts, preload, compression, rebound, all of these settings before the trip. So someone with professional skills to check everything for you. Then you inspect and change if necessary clutch and throttle cables. Clutch cable definitely inspected and always take a spare with you. As you know, I have a spare cable already rotated on my motorcycle and I can change it for less than 10 minutes if I have to. Also check the throttle cable if they are in good condition. If you have a ride-by-wire, fine, but if you have a cables, check the cables before the trip. Check your antifreeze level. What is the level? Also, you can check the quality of the antifreeze. There are specific testers to check what is the condition of the antifreeze. If it's not good, change it before the trip. Just make sure that you're ready to go. If you have an air-cooled motorcycle, fine, but at least you can inspect it, how it looks like, all the ventilation stuff and everything. Just make sure that everything look good. That oil, I already told you about the oil. Even if you have more kilometers, change it before the trip. Spark plugs. Spark plugs usually last at least 20,000 kilometers. They might last even more. I changed the spark plugs on my motorcycle, on my Tenere, on 40,000 kilometers. But I saw on Plumman's garage a Suzuki V-Strom on 100,000 kilometers with the original spark plugs. So spark plugs are not something that you have to worry about. But my advice, as usual, is to change them if you have two or more before the trip, just to give you a peace of mind that you don't need to worry about it. Of course, you always take a spare with you, whatever numbers you have, 1 or 2 cylinders, but change it before the trip, because usually spark plugs on the 2-cylinder motorcycles are a little bit more complicated to change. So change them before the trip and take spares with you. And then battery, charger relay, and all of these cables and fuses and stuff like that. The electrical system, again, inspect everything in advance. Go around your motorcycle, remove all plastic if necessary, remove the petrol tank if necessary, just to inspect all the cables, to make sure that the cables are fine, the insulation is there, no circuits, no possible friction or places where the cables might warm the insulation and cause a circuit or something like that. Check all fuses, check all electrical connections. If it's necessary, use some contact spray to clean the top of the battery connectors and stuff like that. Just make sure that everything is in perfect condition. Just clean it and inspect everything in advance. Check your headlight, high beam, your stop light, your indicators. Do everything in advance. A proper electrical system check. If you don't know how, go to a mechanic and let him do it for you. But you need to make sure that everything is there and works properly. Check your recharging system. With a small tester, you can put it on the plus and the minus of your battery, start the engine and see how much is the voltage. It should be around 14 and something when you have a light on and all of the electric things that you plan to run on your motorcycle. If it's less than 13, you definitely need to change the charger relay, or you have another problem with the probably dynamo system. So you have to know this in advance because it may cause a flat battery during the trip. And then valve clearance. If your valve clearance needs adjustments, or at least to check it, do it before the trip because it's a complicated procedure. Not on on some motorcycles it's easy, I'll agree, especially on the single cylinders. But on 2 or more cylinders it's a little bit more complicated procedure, and it's good to be done in advance. So go to your mechanic and let him check your valves before the trip and adjust them. And then you'll be alright for at least 20-30,000 kilometers, unless the trip is extremely long and you need to do it once again on the road. But you'll be alright for at least first 20 or 30,000 kilometers. And then you can move to the next things that are tires and tubes. I already talked about it in advance, so I'm not gonna discuss it now. I told you about the type of the tires and the tubes that you have to start with fresh. I just made it a little bit faster than my list here. Number 4 is to have a spare parts with you. So everything that exists, every system that exists on your motorcycle might fail. And that's why it's a good idea to have spare parts for the things that are more likely to fail. These are your clutch cable, your brake pads, fuses, lamps, lights, stuff like that. Things that might fail on the road. It's good to have a spares with you. Definitely a number of fuses, whatever sizes you have. Maybe a part, a long cable, 1 meter or a little bit more cable that you might need to make some connections here and there, and a few more spare parts. But you definitely need to know what exactly you need, because, for example, if your motorcycle is some kind of exotic and the oil filter is something that you cannot find anywhere around the world, you definitely need to carry with you. Or if you have a air filter that is impossible to find in the place where you plan to travel, you definitely need a spare with you. And if we go back again to number 1, to make a proper plan, you will know that if you go with BMW or whatever exotic in India, you're not going to be able to find the spare parts that easy, and you might need to go and might need to bring some spare parts with you. For example, spark plugs or brake pads or something like that. Last year in South America, I told you a few times on the streams and also on other videos that just because we were with these Hondas that are locally made, we were able to find any spare parts that we needed. But if we were with our 10RS, this will be a big problem, because in most of the shops, 99% of the shops have no idea what exactly these motorcycles are, and they don't have any spare parts for them. Just in 1% of the shops, we will be able to order parts and wait at least a couple of months before we receive parts. That's why the plan in advance will give you many indications that you need to know after that. Okay, when you finish with all of these things, you need to go to one of the last important moments, is to decide what kind of luggage type you will go on your trip. Soft luggage, hard panniers, or whatever system you decided to use. If you have a passenger, if you're 2 people on one motorcycle, you definitely need to go to something like saddlebags or hard panniers, because the rear seat is going to be busy from your passenger. If you're alone, then you can have a saddlebag, duffel bag, or any other system that might help you to bring your luggage. But again, talking about the plan on the number 1, if you know how you're going to travel alone with the trip, will give you the answer what kind of luggage system you can have with you. If you plan to have a saddlebag, it is the right moment to go and check, will this saddlebag need any luggage racks when you mount them on your motorcycle? Because most of the saddlebags, when you put it on the rear side of the motorcycle, one of the saddlebags will touch the exhaust and the second will go just like that freely. So you definitely need some kind of luggage rack to attach them to prevent the left to go or the right to go to the wheel and the other to go to touch the muffler of your motorcycle. So you definitely need to see, do you need a luggage rack or it will be alright as it is. But it's all part of the preparation of the motorcycle. Tank bag if you need it. If you use tank bag, I use tank bag all the time. Some people don't like it, they don't use it. But if you use a tank bag, make sure that you have a proper tank bag for the motorcycle that you plan to travel. Because if you have a tank bag that is, for example, with magnets, but you plan to travel with a motorcycle which is with plastic petrol tank, you wouldn't be able to use your magnets on your petrol tank. That's why it's good to know in advance what kind of motorcycle you're going to travel in this area, and then to have a proper tank bag with you. The tank bag that I have now, this Moscow Moto Nomad, it's with straps. So I can attach it to any motorcycle. That's why I brought it with me to South America, attached it to this Honda, and I used it. I can use it on my Tenere, I can use it on any motorcycle, but it is good to know all of these things in advance. And the last, number 5, is to make sure that you have a proper navigation system. Whatever system works for you. Tank bags with the paper maps as I do, GPS or telephone. If it's a GPS or telephone, make sure that you have a proper mounting points on your motorcycle. You don't need to think about it in last moment or to hold it in your hand to find a specific address. If you go with your motorcycle, I assume that you already have some kind of bracket or something to attach it. But if you plan to go with another motorcycle, let's say to rent or to buy a motorcycle, make sure that you have one with you that you can mount on your motorcycle once you get it. So these are the important points that I wanted to share now on these streams, guys. And if you want to add any information or if you want to ask me any questions on this topic or any other topic, please feel free to do it right now. Always keep in mind that I record this video and I will upload it after that on the channel. And many people will watch it after that and might benefit from the questions or the information that you're sharing now. Tenere Traveler, check and make sure all of your documents are ready, correct, and stored somewhere safe and dry. Yeah, this is very important topic, not really related to the motorcycle, but important topic. The documents are something that you shouldn't lose at any case, especially if you travel to some more dodgy destinations. The best option will be, or what I do all the time, is to keep the documents always on the pockets of my riding jacket. I never leave my riding jacket just like that. Always keep it on me, even when it's hot, because I don't want to lose my documents. Motorcycle documents. Yeah, good point. Thank you for adding, Richard. Yeah, absolutely make sure that the motorcycle documents are in perfect order, everything that you should have. And also always keep the motorcycle on your name, especially if you plan to cross many borders. Because if you have a power of attorney, for example, on some borders you will be alright, but on some borders they might not let you cross because the motorcycle is not on your name, or at least it will cause many problems, many waiting hours, and problems and probably money before you're able to go in. That's why I always keep the documents on your name. This was a good topic. I forgot to talk about documents. Thanks for adding this, Richard. Come on, guys. Any more information or questions? Richard again. Practice run when fully loaded. You will learn quickly. It feels different and you can't fine-tune it. You can't fine-tune it. Yeah, absolutely. Good advice. When you prepare your motorcycle, when everything is ready, when you get it from your mechanic, when you load all the luggage in, ride it. Ride it a couple of days, a few 100 kilometers, just to make sure that everything is all right and you understand and accept all the weight and all the changes that you already have. This is crucial for your trip. You have to see how it feels. If you think that it's too heavy, remove some luggage. If you think that something is wrong, go to the mechanic again. But it is very important to make a proper test before the takeoff date, because once you start, it's going to be too late to change anything. Good advice. Thanks for adding, Richard. Richard, again, have a good lock for when you park it and cover. It can help you. Yeah, locking is something very important. I always have it with me on my motorcycle, and it's an absolutely brilliant advice. Always have something to lock your motorcycle on the road, especially if you plan to leave it outside. The best option will be always to keep it in safe location, in a garage or at least in a garden parking. Never leave it just like that on the street, because there is no lock to help you if you leave it just like that. But it will be always better to have something than nothing. So good advice. Thanks for adding, Richard. Well, guys, believe it or not, this is so easy now. So you can open YouTube now and you'll find so many videos and so many people will explain you what you need. Like this stream, for example, so much information for, let's say, less than an hour. You will learn so much. When I started traveling, man, it was so difficult. I needed to go to so many different motorcycle forums, and there were completely different opinions, because one guy traveling, let's say, with the chopper on the asphalt road, he needs specific stuff. Another guy traveling with some kind of Holda Goldwing on American highways, he needs different things. The third person was camping, he needs different things. Nowadays you can tune and find, and you can go to your niche and find exactly what you need for a specific trip in specific location. All the information will be there. So much easier right now. And I really don't understand why some people just gave up this information and try to learn everything by themselves. It's just no need now. Yeah, if you travel in a group, good advice, Richard. If you travel in a group, make sure that you have the same bikes. This makes the things very easy. Now, for example, in South America, we had exactly the same motorcycles. So we need one spare part for each motorcycle. So we can share spare parts. We don't need to worry about different things, because if you if you have one set of spare parts, it will cover both motorcycles, or three, or whatever motorcycles you are at the moment. Good point. Thanks for adding, Richard. YouTube is so useful. For everything that I need, I use YouTube. I stopped watching TV a long time ago. Now for everything that I need, I watch YouTube. The problem is that I cannot find any information for Canada right now. I found one article that was explaining about the shipping to Canada, and I found one website, and I already sent them a quote to let me know how much it will cost me. But it's not that easy when the destination is not so popular or not so many people been there. That's why I do these travel videos, to provide as much as possible information, the real information from the places, the real road conditions, hotels, prices, and stuff like that. This was the first idea that I ever had when I started making these video episodes, and I still keep the same idea, to provide as maximum as possible information for everyone who plans to go there. Now, for example, if someone decided to go and make a tour around South America, he can watch all of my episodes and will have a very clear idea what are the roads, what are the conditions, the prices, what you need, what you don't need, how cold or how hot it is, and all of this information. Horizons Unlimited, good website for travel advice. If you haven't tried, it's for shipping advice. I know this website, I have written it a lot before. I'll try it again now to find more information about Canada. Thanks for adding, Richard. I know this website from a long time. So it's one of my sources that I used from the beginning, but as I said, the information was not very specific and not for many places. Yeah, some places are more known, some are not, but yeah, you need to find information. Will you afford to buy a tenner in Canada instead of shipping yours? If I have to buy a motorcycle in Canada, it will definitely not be Tenere, because the Tenere is going to be too expensive. I'll buy probably a second-hand Kawasaki KLR in affordable condition. I'm not going to buy Tenere. I cannot spend $10,000 or more for motorcycle for Canada, even though I'm going to sell it after that. Alright guys, if you don't have any more questions, I will end the stream here and see you next week. We'll see what kind of topic. Good night and see you next time. Ciao.